Let's make some money for week 0 and talk from a betting perspective because Jose Perez said, let's get this cash. You added to the week 0 card, so I'm going to bring it back.
Yes.
We've got first K-State -3. Why are you laying it in Dublin?
Yeah, I'm very pro Kansas State this year, and particularly in this matchup. I know a lot of people, and I've talked to a lot of people about this game, and a lot of people came into it saying, I really like Iowa State. I think this is a coin flip. And then as they got deeper and deeper in the weeds, started to side with me a little bit more that maybe Iowa State's not the right side. Their top 2 wide receivers both had over 1,000 yards last year, drafted and gone. Also lost 2 very important offensive linemen. Rocco Becht, who you look at the last season, like end of the year game against Kansas State, people are going to look at, oh, they won the game. He had 2 touchdowns, no picks. He probably played pretty well. He was 13-35 without a big time throw and 3 turnover worthy plays. He got bailed out in that game by Kansas State secondary because he had those top tier guys. They're not there anymore. And so, okay, maybe you say, now let's run the ball a little bit more. I don't think they can because K-State's defensive front is such a strength of theirs. They're very good against the run. And I heard an interesting story from Joel Klatt on his podcast the other day for anybody who maybe doesn't listen to that show. He was talking about a personal experience he had in Colorado where he had all this wide receiver talent. And then the following year, he's at camp and everything. He's like, I don't have those guys anymore, but the guys that I do have in my room are pretty good. I think they're going to surprise some people. And he said he had a conversation with Rocco Becht this offseason at a UFL game because Rocco's dad, Anthony Becht, is the head coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks in the UFL, and Fox carries a lot of those games. And Rocco was saying a very similar thing. I think these guys are pretty good. They're going to surprise some people. And Joel goes, but I don't believe it because I remember what happened to me the first time that bullets were firing and we're out there on the field and nobody's open. So yeah, they might look pretty good in camp, but once you get against a legit defense, it's going to be hard. And I kind of think that could be an issue for Iowa State coming out here. Meanwhile, you've got Avery Johnson, whose legs are going to be such a difference maker coming into the season, 10 pounds of muscle, bigger, but just as fast as he was. Great backfield with Dylan Edwards. Should be a good offensive line, good skill position talent around him. So yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying Kansas State -3. I really like them to start the season, and I like a lot about K-State this year.
Sean wants to know if you have any concern with their kicker issues.
I think whenever there is a team that has kicking issues, there are going to be concerns, but hopefully they're outscoring them to the point where that's not as important. But look, anything can happen in Dublin. I did a video earlier today where I said my excitement is Dublin. Is that embarrassing?
No. Nothing's embarrassing, Stormy, especially when you just laugh off everything that you say and do. You also added something else to the week 0 card. It was the Fresno State KU game.
Yeah, I guess we're having a theme here. Kansas State and Kansas did not get the 12.
They're not going to like that, by the way.
But yeah, I'm sure. I didn't get the 12. This line's been all over the place. Fresno State was 14.5, as low as 12. I gave out 13 on money moves earlier today. I also lean under, but didn't do anything official there. I just think this is going to be kind of tough for Fresno State out the gates. New quarterback, new coach, juiced environment too at Kansas. That new stadium looks awesome, and a fan base that's going to be full of hope to start the season. Jalen Daniels, when he's healthy, is electric, good offensive line. And I think that's just going to be a test for a Fresno State group that against the run, and specifically the quarterback run, could be pretty tough. Even Kansas's defense that struggled last year, and they struggled a lot, but they should be a lot better, much more physical. New DC, DK McDonald. And they get to ease in against a quarterback that all, respect to Kurt Warner and the family, but I don't think EJ Warner is that great. He's on his 3rd different program in 3 years for a reason. Most recently Rice, but Temple before that. Overall for me, and I'd be curious what your friends in the chat think, I'm just pretty significant talent advantage for Kansas here. And for as much as I love Matt Entz at Fresno State, is that hire for their new head coach. And I think they'll be better over time. I just don't think that's week 1. Or week 0.
I feel like a lot of people in the first couple of weeks love taking points, and I just keep hearing about taking points with Fresno State. Just feels like the public play.
Well, and it does, and it's those trendy dogs, right, can be a little bit dicey, but also there's a numbers difference too between 14.5 and 13 or 12. So I think if you got that 14.5 and you took the points there, you're probably feeling good. But then I also would say that there's some buyback on Kansas for a reason.
You've also got futures. And of course, we've got week 1 coming up next week. But I like that you have a college football playoff future in here. I keep asking people who follow college football, who handicap it, how different things are, not only with NIL, but the new college football playoff format. You could get more value on certain teams because of the new CFP format. And at 2-1, you could get Boise State. Why are you high on them to not only make it to the playoff, but win the Mountain West?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the 6-1 that we cashed on Boise to make the playoff last year. I had that as one of my best bets in our VSiN college football betting guide, and I was so happy about it. So we go from 6-1 to 2-1 for a team that's not as good and doesn't have Ashton Genty anymore. And yet I still think it's a really good bet. Largely just because of the potential drop off from Boise State and everybody else in the Mountain West. They have the most depth by far in the league, 14 returning starters, among those being preseason Mountain West Player of the Year, Maddox Madsen at quarterback, the whole 2 deep up front that's protecting him, like the wide receiver room. Yes, running back is going to be a little bit more by committee, but there's a lot of belief in Sire Gaines and Malik Sherrod. So those guys are good. I think the offense will be fine. Defensively, Broncos had an elite pass rush a year ago. Don't think they skip a beat. So both sides of the ball I feel good about, and I love their head coach, Spencer Danielson. Now, obviously, with the college football playoff, you also have to take into account the other teams that could potentially get that G5 bid if they run the table in their respective leagues. I just don't think Conference USA is as strong. I know some people like Tulane. I know some people are high on like maybe USF making a run. Liberty, they don't play a single P4 opponent, so I can't get on board there, even if they go undefeated. And plus, we saw 2 years ago, I think it was, when they were in the Fiesta Bowl after running the table, they had an opportunity for a New Year's Six, and they got blown up. So the committee probably learned, Exhibit A, what happens when you have a team like that given that opportunity, whether it's right or wrong, and you should do that or not. I think that's just an implied bias they may have, whereas Boise proved that they can play on that stage and could have very easily won a game up there. So that's kind of the way that I take it, is Boise State has proven themselves and performed on that stage, and they get a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt.
Battle tested, and of course, going from 6-1 to 2-1 in a span of a year is telling you the book is high on Boise State too. Everyone's always high on Alabama. Last year, but this year you like them over 9.5 wins, -125. But why? I hate saying it's a public play because it's Bama, but like obviously you're feeding into the narrative that everyone loves. Crimson, go Tide, roll Tide, woo! Why?
Well, hopefully you don't see me doing that, but
I actually just make fun of my cousin who went there, and she like is their diehard Roll Tide Alabama. So whenever, and I went to visit my cousin who went to Georgia, and I like Georgia more than Bama, so now I'm a Georgia person. So I just make fun of the Bama family.
If I'm going to do it, I'm not going to say like, roll Tide, woo. I'm going to roll damn Tide. If I'm going, I'm going, okay? But
you're rolling with the Tide.
What's funny is like, it just goes to show, right, Alabama and the history of the program, that a 9-win team, like 9-win season for any other team would be an amazing year for a lot of programs out there. And this was a consensus across the board failure for Alabama, right? And I think to an extent, you go from the greatest college football coach of all time in Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer, who is a wonderful coach and who's somebody like that I very much so believe in. But for the players that had been in under both coaches, it's a completely different guy. And I think that might take a little bit of an adjustment period. Now you're at the point where Kalen DeBoer's got more of his people. He has won everywhere he's been. And look at the talent on this roster, Ariel. One of the best defenses in college football they should have. Defensive line, linebacker, secondary. I'm looking through every level of this defense filled with top 10 players in the country. That'll be the foundation of the team. And then offensively, yes, we need to see who Ty Simpson is, but he's a former 5-star. Good win from the pocket guy, accurate, can run a little bit, not the same athleticism as a Milroe, for example, but can scramble for a first down when you need it. Ryan Grubb joins DeBoer again as offensive coordinator. You have one of the brightest stars in the country at wide receiver in Ryan Williams. There's a lot to like about this team, and the schedule, quite frankly, I think as far as SEC schedules go, sets up for them pretty well. Other than Georgia on the road, every other like really tough content. LSU's at home, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Vandy, all at home. Your road SEC games are at South Carolina, which will be tough, but should beat Auburn, should beat Mizzou. Host ULM in Wisconsin before that first big test. Like everything I'm looking at the schedule, that Florida State matchup week 1 is not exactly the challenge it's been billed to be in years past, right? So I'm high on Alabama for their talent, for the coaching, minus 125 for the over 9.5 wins, but also like I don't have a national championship bet on them. But I don't hate the 10-1. I think that they could be an SEC contender, a national championship contender, all the things if things fall right for them.
You're still talking about one of the most proven programs in the country that is now, I guess the book you could say, sleeping on them a little bit. So there at least is some value on a good buy low there. 7.5 wins, one for plus money, another for minus 125. Iowa, Utah. You're high on both these. Before I let you go, walk us through them.
Yes, I love that Matt brought up Devin Dampier when he was on the program earlier. I am a huge, huge fan. And we're seeing a lot of programs, right, that are doing the offensive coordinator and quarterback transfer from another program. And that's what you're getting with Devin Dampier and his coordinator from New Mexico. I think that bringing Jason Beck along with him is huge. He does need work to develop as a passer, but this is a guy who's electric with his legs. I think this is one of the more underrated transfers at the quarterback position in all of college football this year. Rushed for more than 1,150 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7.5 yards per carry average. And now you're going from New Mexico to what could be a top-tier offensive line he's playing behind and a potentially really rock-solid defense on the other side that's going to get him the ball more often than not. So the over 7.5 wins, minus 125. I also like Utah to win the Big 12. And then the Iowa over 7.5, just looking at their schedule, years past, aside from the COVID season in 2020, they've won at least 8 games every year since 2015. And there are a handful of things with Iowa you can always count on, no matter what. Physical, stout in the trenches, great defense, great special teams, unwatchable offense. I think that last item changes this year. And I've seen a lot of really strong reviews about Mark Gronowski, the kid that's coming over. I keep on saying kid, and I think that's because I'm old now and I'm in my 30s. This young man, he's what, 22, 23?
Okay.
I think 22.
Okay.
He played all his years at FCS, and now he's transitioning. But he won titles with South Dakota State in FCS, was the Walter Payton Manning of the Year, which is like the FCS Heisman. Like, could actually move the ball for Iowa. Can you imagine, like, what a crazy thought that is? But that could be the reality for them this year. And I know the schedule isn't easy, but even the toughest games they have are all at home. And then there's Iowa State in non-con week 2 is important. That could be a tough game, but a handful of 50-50. I look through their schedule, I very clearly see 7. And if the offense is as improved as I think they could be, and apparently going to have a really strong wide receiver core to help him out too, I think we get that extra one to get over the 7.5.
It's great value to wait on a plus 135 win total. I'm all for it because I laid minus 110 with the freaking Arizona Diamondbacks, and I wish that I just bet a money line and forgot about it. So it has been irking me about laying minus 110, but it's fine. It's fine. I'll get over it. Stormy Buonantony, thank you so much for coming on the show and dealing with my dogs. I really appreciate you. I think I'm on Money Moves next Friday. Is that because I'm replacing you?
I think so. Yes. It's my first travel day, but you're going to hold down the fort. You're going to nail it. And I appreciate you having me. You're the best. Huh?
Me and JVT.
Yeah. I think actually Keith might be filling in for JVT on Friday too. So it might be like a full Money Moves replacement. Don't take my job, Ariel. Come on.
I don't think that's possible because I am not moving to Las Vegas. Far and
fair.
That is exactly why. Your job is completely safe with me filling in.
God bless.
Stormy Buonantony. Check her out on ESPN on the sidelines throughout the college football season and VSiN on Money Moves. I'll see you soon and good luck this season.